Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the conclusion of the NASTL Clan War. Today, February 4th, my favorite day of the year. We're going to head into the last and final game between AGH and Inori to see who's going to take the win for the team. So in the top left-hand corner, we have AGH spawning as the red Protoss. Bottom right, same colors, the green Protoss. Inori. Now, it is PvP on Antigua Shipyard. This was AGH's choice, and I like this map choice a lot better than the last one.
Yeah, you know, I have to agree with you. Antigua Shipyard, a pretty balanced map, I would say, especially in a mirror matchup, but versus Tal'Darim Altar. Obviously, I would prefer it. And you know, it's a cool map in general for PvP because you take your natural expansion. There's a ramp leading up to it. You can theoretically hold that for quite a bit, providing you have sentries and your opponent doesn't have massive units. And then that being said, it's hard for your opponent to really engage you on your side of the map. There's the defender's advantage because your opponent has to walk their Colossi all the way across the map or the Void Rays or whatever. And then there's the choke points you can utilize that are outside of your natural expansion, those two little entrances. So it's not too out of the ordinary to see 3 bases on this map in PvP. So Gretorp, I'm excited. This is the ultimatum. This is the ace match. This is the last game. Whoever wins this game will secure the victory for their team. Will it be Quantic or will it be Rain? I know who I'm rooting for, but I am not going to disclose that information.
You're rooting for Team Root, which was formerly Kiwikaki, so it must be Team Rain. Got it.
Your logic never ceases to amaze me, Gretorp.
Thanks. Well, you said the Root, so it was a clear giveaway.
Well played, Juicer. Well played.
I know you very well, Axeltoss, but you know, I love Antigua Shipyard a lot more as a map for PvP.
Yeah.
Obviously, the variance is severely smaller than what we saw in Tal'Darim Altar. And AGH definitely is a player that can play into those later game stages. I think he's one of the more underrated players in Quantic. But, you know, of course, being overshadowed by players like Sase, like
Sure.
Naniwa, it can be very, very difficult to get your name out there. But still, AGH has shown a lot of promise. He's 1-1 with Inori, and hopefully we get to see a nice, big, and long game this time around.
Yeah, and Stalker coming out for Og after getting that first initial Zealot, so playing pretty standard, chrono boosting his cybernetic score, no crazy early gasses from him. Meanwhile, and Nori getting a relatively early gas, but perhaps just to deny, just to prevent the gas steal, no, putting 3 probes immediately in gas. We also have a Zealot patrolling his ramp, so no probe's going to get up there anytime soon. If you micro that Zealot perfectly, I think you can deny probe's entry. Unless I guess the probe right clicks on the minerals.
It's
but I don't know if Ag wants to take
I don't
that
think you can normally stop that from happening. That's exactly why the right click on the probes. But still, if it's even not right clicked, it's like really hard to stop the probes from actually moving up there since the pathing is so intelligent. But Quantic, AGH going to throw down what looks to be a 4-gate. I have never seen this before. Axel, can you shed a little bit of light on this build?
You know, it's one of those new builds. It's not a lot of people actually know a lot about it, so I won't be able to shed too much light. But again, it's one of those builds that just recently came into fruition. Basically, you build 4 gateways and you warp in units and you attack your opponent as fast as you can.
Very awesome strategy, and AGH is going to be pushing forward. Now, this is potentially a time where Inori is kind of out of position here. He has 2 Stalkers and a Zealot to his opponent's 1 Stalker and 1 Zealot. And if he could have picked off that 1 pylon or that 1 probe, that would have been humongous.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. He's going to throw down that 1 proxy pylon. And 4 gateways underway.
Yeah, I mean, this does not look good for Og as of right now. There is a sentry at the top of that ramp, but there's not a second sentry. However, Inori can easily warp in additional sentries. A pylon being warped in for Og, probably going to try to take his opponent off guard here, which would be huge. Has to cancel that pylon, does do that, trying to catch his units off guard. But Inori going to have none of it, going to retreat back into his main base. Zealot going to be taken down, though, I think. Yeah. There are 3 sentries there, though, and, you know, Inori can just pretty much force field forever.
expansion had to be canceled, and this is actually a really nice opportunity for AGH. I mean, he doesn't actually have to keep continuing here. Yes, he cancels everything. He forces his opponent back into the base. He can actually morph in a couple of stalkers here and just hold that ramp, maybe a couple of sentries as well, and then take an expansion. For now, what do we see? It's a robotics facility. Let's go ahead and look at the income tab. 20 harvesters, 25, so Inori is ahead in economy, and there he goes, putting down that Nexus. Very bold move, but of course he can always cancel that if there's any incoming pressure, but he knows his opponent probably is going to back off and start to macro after this. So AGH is behind, but not by much.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest advantage that Inori has right now is that tech advantage. He has so much gas right now compared to his opponent, approaching 300 gas. So once this robotics facility completes, he can theoretically put down a robotics base straight away and then just go right into Colossi production. Whereas Ag, when this robotics facility completes, he may not yet have enough gas to end up doing that. So Og's Colossus are going to be delayed, provided, assuming both these players will go Colossi, which may in fact not happen. But Colossus are pretty good in PvP, so I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, Inori does have that gas advantage, which is a pretty big deal in PvP.
We'll see if AGH actually does anything to come back into the gas count, whether he puts down a fast third and fourth gas or, just the third gas. But still, he does need to kind of come back into the gas fight because he's losing pretty handily now. Immortals are being created by both these players, but as you said, the robotics bay is going down. We don't have enough gas out for AGH to actually get anything, so it's not looking too good for him. But let's go ahead and look at the income tab, 26 to 29. The income gap, or rather the worker count, is closing up a little bit. Still, Inori looking with a nice advantage, 61 supply to 48.
Yeah, I mean, it's already looking great. Yeah, you said the supply count right there. Robotics Bay almost complete for him. Now the question is, what does he do from here? Does he try to push off of bases off of 2 or 3 Colossi and Thermal Lance, or does he just keep playing safe, get his Colossi out, start working on upgrades, take a relatively fast third, and then just try to take his opponent in the long game once he gets a maxed army? That's what I have on my mind right now. Meanwhile, Ag looks like he is getting out a second Immortal. That's a little weird. Robotics Bay is almost done though. I'm not a huge fan of Immortals in PvP, Gretorp. I would favor the Colossi, and basically any other unit. I feel like, I don't know if you would agree with me, unless there's a lot of stalkers from your opponent. They don't have a huge place in the matchup, considering your opponent can simply just force field them away, among other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, they have the same, they're like a buffed stalker for just the ground. That's what I always consider them, but they do take up a lot of supply. There's pros and cons to them.
Yeah.
I don't know how good they are for growing. I'm still debating on that, especially its opportunity cost for time for Colossus to come out. So
right, exactly.
I'm really debating whether I like them or not. I think they're somewhere in the middle. They're okay to get, but they're not like super great, but they're not terrible type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd rather have Colossi out faster and Thermal Lance out faster. But then again, you want to make sure you're protected from any sort of crazy aggression from your opponent. I mean, theoretically, Inori could try to go for some sort of 2-base heavy push, in which case you would want to have Immortals on the field to try to, have as much DPS on the ground as you can to defend against that aggression, considering your opponent is, pretty far ahead of you in the game. So that could be something Ag is considering. Then again, if your opponent is ahead, you want to cut as many corners as possible to try to catch back up. So, I don't know. A lot of things you can think about here. As it stands, though, both these players on 2 bases, Inori adding on that Forge, both these players getting Thermal Lances, getting out those Colossi on the field. And there's also that defender's advantage to consider once again. I mean, if you decide to attack your opponent, both these players going Colossi, your Colossi, you're always going to be one behind. Theoretically, if you both have the same amount of Colossi, you're always going to be one behind if you decide to attack him, because your Colossi have to march all the way across the field, whereas your defender, the Colossi is right there. So that's something to consider as well. That being said, Ag going for Stargate play.
Yeah, a little interesting to do that. I'm not sure if it's going to be Phoenix. Most likely it's going to be Phoenix, but could be Void Ray. We saw him do Void Ray the first game. Phoenix are good, but you need to get the +1 weapons upgrade so that you can kill the Colossus a lot faster. But overall, I don't know if I love this completely. I don't know. It's just a weird timing to actually do this, but he has favored Stargate play. Game 1 did really well for him, so I guess he's saying, hey, let's do it again in game number 3 where it really matters. I do want to mention really quick, we talked about the gas count going really well for for Inori all throughout the early game, mid game. A lot of it went into these sentries. You can see 500 gas right here, whereas EGH only has 100 or one sentry, which is 100 gas. Having 400 gas being put into just sentries alone actually messes up a lot, because the effectiveness of the sentries actually diminishes the longer you go on. When you get the massive units up, whether it be Colossus, whether it be Archons, yeah. The sentries don't really have a big place in the army at that end game stage. The only thing they're good for is the Guardian Shield at that point. So what that means is maybe, you know, even having that sentry, the gas count in that beginning phase, hasn't really materialized in any particular advantage in this game, which just evens things out. And you can already see Income Tab 52 harvesters to 48. AGH only 12 supply behind, not a big deal. If he's doing the, as you were talking about, the defender's advantage, he can actually take his expansion, take a third or something like that.
Yes.
And he'll be fine. He'll be equal in the amount of supply for his army.
Yeah, Ag is definitely still in this game. The thing about PvP that's very interesting is, you know, you could have a 2 Colossi advantage on your opponent, but it all comes down to that engagement. It all comes down to the concave. If you have a great concave and you have 2 less Colossi than your opponent, there's a good chance you're going to come out on top in that game. Like if in that battle, I should say, if your opponent just lines up his Colossi and just sends them at you, and yours are all spread out and nicely concaved, obviously that's a dramatic example and probably won't happen here. You're going to come out on top, you know, quite a bit. So unit movement is going to be really important in this game. And you know, that being said, Og is going double Stargate and Void Ray. And if Inori doesn't scout this out, this could be pretty awkward for him, because how many stalkers does he have? He's a decent amount of stalkers, but Void Rays, I feel like they could just melt away Colossi.
But let's talk about upgrades a little bit. 2-0 being upgraded for Inori, that's going to give him a gigantic advantage. And we can see EGH working, instead of putting his gas towards the upgrades, he's actually going towards that area that you were talking about, the Void Rays, the double Stargate Chrono Boosted out Void Rays. So that'll be interesting. I'm not sure how the dynamics will really work there. The Void Rays will be very fragile, as Stalkers with +2 attack are so very strong.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to think right now. I'm trying to think of my opinion of the most optimal PvP late game composition. What do you think? What would be your composition of choice, realistically?
A little bit of everything, but not Stargate tech. I would have probably the Mothership in there. Mainly Stalker, Colossus, Archon, Zealot, that kind of stuff. And just a nice balance, nothing overdoing. I think 5 Colossus is a good amount.
Really?
7 Colossus is fine too. But anywhere in that range, you don't want to overdo it with Colossus though. That's the big thing, and that can really screw you up in these big fights. Yeah, no, I agree. I still don't have my finger on the optimal late game PvP unit composition. I mean, I guess in theory you could say like mass Void Rays or something, but then again, if your opponent gets like High Templar, Storm is pretty good against Void Rays, believe it or not. But we'll see what happens here. It looks like both these players going for similar unit composition, except Og, of course, going for the heavy Void Ray play. I'm not sure if Inori has scouted this out. He does have an observer relatively close to his opponent's natural expansion, has seen 1 Stargate, but hasn't seen the second. Well, it's all going to come down to this micro. We can see that Inori is pushing on up. Now, EGH actually has got, maxed out before his opponent. But again, those upgrades, 2-0 against 0-0. So it's going to help out Inori quite a bit. And EGH is going to be the aggressor here. The 4 Zealots do blow down the destructive debris, so he can easily go to that 3rd Nexus. But I don't think it really matters. It's all going to be with this attack. And what do the Void Rays actually attack? That's the big question. Do they actually go for the Colossus? They deal an extra, what is that, 20% damage against massive units. So it's very well that he goes to the Colossus. He's trying to charge up his Void Rays here. That's really interesting. In the meantime, we do have a drop in the main base. Also an attack going on into the 3rd of AGH. Targeting down the Nexus. Major engagement happening in the middle of the map here. Lots of Colossi beaming rays at each other. I'm not sure who's coming out ahead here. Ag's Void Ray is a little bit late to the party. Sentry's going down. Again, as you said, not doing much at all. And I think, I don't know, Gretorp. I don't know, man. I think Inori's good, maybe? Inori? Inori is absolutely fantastic. He has another warp in of units. The Void Rays just get absolutely decimated. AGH loses all of his advantage, which are those Void Rays. GG gets called out, and Rain is gonna take it. Quantic falls. So a 2-1 win for Inori gives the clan war over to Rain. Such a nail-biting series. Quantic yet again falls. Such a sad story for them at this this last game. They were so close to victory, but they just could not grasp it.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I'm a little bit personally invested in the Quantic, so obviously I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit sad. But it seems like it happens a lot. We get so close, and then it goes away. But honestly, the upgrades are huge in that.
Yes,
I think.
I
And
think so.
it obviously it all comes down to that failed 4-gate aggression and Inori getting that advantage early on in the game. It's a little more drastic in a mirror matchup if you can get a lead like that. It's a lot easier to make that lead even larger. At least I think in mirror matchups versus off race matchups, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Sure.
But Inori able to get a great unit composition, able to get those upgrades up, and Ag just didn't have those Void Rays in his army. Awesome Warp Prism play from Inori sending. Actually, he didn't even send those four Zealots killed the natural third of Og, and they weren't sent through a Warp Prism. So Og was just going for it right there. He didn't have too much. He didn't have an economy to fall back on. He just had to win it right there. He wasn't able to pull it through.
Yep. So it's unfortunate, obviously, for Og, but he came back into the game very nicely. Unfortunately, I think the tech deviation of going towards the Void Rays, it's not really optimal, especially with the upgrades that you can get. It just helps out. I mean, think if you invest completely in your upgrades rather than going something like Void Rays, everything gets increased. So now I have an advantage in Colossus. If we have equal numbers of Colossus, my Colossus are going to win every time. Same thing with Soccer, same thing with Zealot, same thing with Archons, but of course he didn't have money for the Archons. So little things like this, it all builds up, and that's why I think the Void Rays weren't as effective. Maybe if he pushed out a lot earlier, I'm not sure. I mean, there's not really any timings before 2-0 finishes for his opponent where he can get enough Void Rays and enough stuff, enough ground army to actually do anything. So very unfortunate, and Quantic for that will actually fall to 0-3. They are last in the whole NASTL, whereas Rain is now 2-1. So congratulations to them. They will be moving up. And that's going to do it. So really, really nice clan war. If you missed any of the action, go check us out on YouTube. We're youtube.com/NAStarLeague. That's where you can find everything in 1080p quality. But Axeltoss, it was a pleasure casting and working with you yet again. Do you have any closing words before we actually end this?
Yeah, I do. I just want to thank the NASL for letting me come on and try out some casting. Of course, Gretorp, he's such a charming guy. Thank you so much for casting with me. It's always a pleasure. And I just want to do a quick shout out to my Twitter. If you want to support me and see where I go, I usually tweet when I do stuff. Just follow me at Axeltoss. I also have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/AxeltossSC. So when you're going to subscribe to youtube.com/NAStarLeague, I think I got that. Go subscribe to Axeltoss SC just for fun. It does help me, and I really appreciate all the support. Also, don't be afraid to leave feedback. Feedback is awesome.
Yeah,
that's all I got, Gretorp.
And we thank you yet again, Axeltoss, for helping us out here at the NASL studio. I do want to also, pimp out myself. I'm twitter.com/Gretorp, so you can find me there. And you can find NASL TV there on Twitter in both Facebook, NASL TV, twitter.com/NASL TV, facebook.com/NASL TV. I want to thank the people that made this possible. It is our sponsor, of course. I want to start out with Azo Monitors. They're a monitor supplier for the NASL. Also, iBuyPower. iBuyPower has definitely been one of the key components in here at the NASL, so please go support iBuyPower. You can see those beautiful beasts over on the side. Also, I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to Kingston HyperX, Beyond Gaming, and last but not least, Cooler Master. So a huge thanks to the sponsors. And I guess the last thing before we close out the day, the NSQ, the next season qualifiers, we want to go over that very quickly. February 9th to March 3rd, single elimination bracket, $1,000 prize pool, and 8 qualify for the NASL Season 3. As you can see, can you give me camera 3 again, Elliot? The studio has changed quite a bit for all you that haven't seen already. It looks a lot better. We fixed the lighting. We fixed everything. The cameras are all different. They're in different positions. And not only that, the players are going to be playing a lot better. We have a format that is much more flexible for all the players, and we feel that, you know, we're going to get a lot better games because they're going to be in a much better mental state. On top of that, we have things like final expenses will all be paid for, and you can win money every single week in your group play. So it's just a big draw for all the players to play their absolute best rather than just, you know, okay, I'm up 7-0, I'm going to qualify for, you know, the finals. Not a big deal. No, it is a big deal because you can win, you know, a certain amount of money, and who doesn't like more money? So that being said, really excited for NASL Season 3 and hope you guys tune in. Also, going to pip it out for one last time, youtube.com/NAStarLeague. That's where you can find any of the action that you might have missed. Everything in 1080p quality. You guys have said it on Reddit and Team Liquid all over the place. Thank you so much. We take a lot of pride in the quality that we put out, not only in our casting, in our production, but in the 1080p. We have a revolutionary stream, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinions, and you can definitely tell when you're in game. So please go check that out. Again, youtube.com/NAStarLeague. That's going to be it for today from everybody here at the NASL studio. We wish you a very good day. We will see you tomorrow for not only the NASL Sunday show match, but NASTL. Catch you guys then.